Okay, guys. Anyways, today we're going to finish off with the energy chapter here. Right? There's two more things that we're going to talk about only. Then we're going to use the remaining time to do exercises today. Right. So, okay. Today what we're going to learn about is basically we're going to learn about the efficiency formula. Efficiency is a very interesting thing. Okay, efficiency has a general formula of total output over total input over time. For those who have problems remembering this formula, let me give you a very relatable example that is quite applicable for this formula here. Now let's imagine today we have a chair factory here. Okay, a very simplified chair factory here. Chair factory. Okay. Today, if let's say I'm making wooden chair, obviously the raw material that I have to feed in here is obviously going to be wood, right? Today, let me just ask you this one simple question. If today I feed in 100 pieces of wood, would it be possible to get 100 chairs coming out from this factory here? Is it possible? Definitely not, right? And so if I think about it, unless your chair is like the size of a plank, right? If not, logically speaking, it's not possible. Let's imagine today, if I fit in 100 pieces of wood, let's just say I optimize it to the maximum, right? Let's just say today I have 70 chairs coming out from this factory here. From here, I can more or less guess the efficiency of this chair factory here, right? It will be how much do you think it will be in terms of efficiency? How many percent do you think this chair factory is? If I have 100 wood being fed in, and I have 70 chairs coming out, how much do you think the efficiency will be? 70%. It will be a 70%. Very good. Why? Because once again, when we talk about efficiency formula, the efficiency formula is given as output over input multiplied by 100%. Now today, in terms of this efficiency, if let's say today you mix it up, right? Let's say today you put like 100 over 70 multiplied by 100%. You know what's gonna happen here? Essentially, right, what you're going to get is you're going to get a number that is bigger than 100%. In this scenario here, you're going to get somewhere around 142%, right? And let me tell you this, guys, in your exam, right, as soon as you see that the efficiency is more than 100%, for sure it's going to be wrong already. Like 100% you are going to be wrong. Remember this, your efficiency can never be more than 100%. If you have anything more than 100%, for sure wrong. Okay. So commonly what you do is, if let's say you get an answer that is more than 100%, all you need to do is most likely you terbalate the output and the input, right? And you just go 70 over 100 multiplied by 100%. Which ultimately will give you 70%, which means to say, I mean, in theory, right, this chair factory is 70%. Okay. One more very funny way that you can think about efficiency is that imagine today, besides the chair factory, you can think about eating food, right? Let's imagine today this is you. Right. And imagine today if you were to eat up, let's say 5 kg of food, right? And if you cut 5 kg of food, obviously when what goes in must come out, right? But until the day you can shit out literally 5 kg of shit the day that you eat out 5 kg of food, right? Always remember that you can never have 100% efficiency. No matter what you do, it will never be 100% efficiency. This is the God of law, okay? Now, efficiency formula is not only limited to chairs and poop, right? It could be anything. If today the question is talking about efficiency of energy, then this will be output energy over input energy, right? If it's talking about power, then this could be output power over input power. It could be literally anything, but the general formula is always going to be output over input multiplied by 100%. Okay. Any questions with this part here? Good. If you look at this diagram here, this is essentially how light is being transmitted also, right? Today, if I put in 100 watts of power, right, into this light bulb here, maybe it can only shine 75 watts of light only. It means to say, right, It means to say I have lost about 25 watts, about 25 watts to heat. Right. So my efficiency in this scenario here will only just be 75%. Can get idea? Okay. Please copy everything down from here and attempt the 4 questions right now. Okay, and the 4 questions. 有看电视。88先。
差了，现在没有这样多了吧？乱改。
你是 top in class 吗？这样子的话，有人搞过你吗？
有人搞过我，但是我不是 top one。
你是 top 几 ？top 2啊？
老是乱改，你去给我看，今天老是改这边，这样都可以的喂。
那你就可以。那么你这个你会做错，对吧？
不要问，因为我看错了，因为我写错了。
哎，constant speed，要又是 constant gradient 啊。你老师有跟你讨论吗？这些答案？
还没有讨论完。我是吹个 W。吹个 W。
哦 ，kW 是 kilowatts，就好像1个 kg 是1000 gram 这样子。
kilowatt，所以是什么？
所以是1000瓦上。
这样是
你有听我讲话吗
5K。
one kg is 1000 grams, right?
Yeah.
If I have 5 kilowatts, how many watts is that?
0.5。
哦 0.5 kilowatts, how many watts? 哦 500啦，乘1000啦。哦，快点 easy paper 来学这个。
easy 的，老师乱改，当然 easy 啊。
他不要 break 你的 spirit 吧，其实。哇，23那蛮死啊，不错。
错多。
怎么后面全部错了？
我不知道，我学习很错，很差。
喂，你这你敢做错啊？A girl of mass 50 kg runs 6 meters。
看错 I thought G is a gravity。
什么鬼 gravity momentum 有什么鬼 gravity 这个
这里因为是低我。
？What A girl of mass 50 kg？
我错了。
你错了这个，你怎么做错？我真是很想知道你怎么样做错来这个。
为什么？哦，不是，反过去。
哎，what the hell？这一题是
Mass velocity。
就它全息的这个 ，this is B。What？这个没老师拿分。
他错全分。
可是中国这里有一个挺贼的，什么意思？
没有，我是对哦，我懂了，因为老师画错了，因为我是24错，不是25错，25对了。呀，我想起来了。对，我觉得干脆不要跟他讲算了，反正都是一样呀，可能。对错一样，对错一样。 那你
81 is good already.
没有，你再扣2分。
And it's supposed to find a power first. What formula can you use here? With force, distance, and time.
算 energy 是
Yeah, okay. What's the formula for the energy?
force times distance。
Oh, we find work done which equals force times distance, right? Then after that, 怎么找 power?
除12。
Oh, then you'll get your power what? Then that power will be either divide 0.5, which is 500 watts, by the way. Either divide or be divided by 500.
375万。
嗯，
所以是，所以是375 over 500乘100%。这个是什么鬼？ 快一点。
What are you looking for? Output or input right now? 这个 receive 100 joules, what is it supposed to mean?
output，我要找 input。
啊
不是
Receives 100.
input.
Oh, so you're looking for output, right? Find output with this information. 100 joules per second is power, by the way. Energy per second is watts. Because the formula power is equals to energy over time, right? So from here, I mean, you can find energy lah, because this is they're asking you for the light energy also. But if next time you see this is also your power, right? This is also your power, but in this question, since you're looking for like energy, just find the energy because you're assuming it's per second already.
什么鬼？
快点找啦！
你在这那看？
Huh?
你在这
I already told you per second already, so you assume it's per second already.
哦，
快点draw. Still don't waste time.
我不懂。
Find the energy, bro. Ignore this part. Just find the energy.
哦，那 energy 回来了啦。 一个都不能哦，first trimester 都不能。哦，shit。
什么鬼？你今天做什么？怎么好像可以跟木板讲话？What are you talking about? This is your input, right?
Yeah,
Then you're asked to find what?
output.
Or you're asked to find output, right? You already have input, you have efficiency, 你还要找什么鬼 formula?
Ủa?
Do the final one.
Bruh.
Bro.
没错。
Oh.
哎呀，记得错。
What are you doing? What are you doing?
真是我错。
我真是很想知道 MV square 你敢做啊 M is 25 and then the V is 0. 我不要看了，我不要看了，我是 sick bro. Okay, Teresa, are you done with these 4 questions?
啦哦，什么鬼？
Yeah,
Hey, can you tell me what do you get for the first one?
80.
80%. The second one, do you get 75%?
Yeah,
Number 3, how much do you get?
400.
400. Okay, that's wrong. Why? Because they said here that you receive 100 joules. If you receive 100 joules, it means to say by right, this should be the input, right? So if you think about it, this is the efficiency. And then you have input. You're asked how much is transferred as light energy. So by right, this should be your output. Right? So if you talk at the formula, efficiency equals to output over input times 100%. You're supposed to get 25 is equals to out over 100 multiplied by 100%, which if you cut this, you're going to get an output of 25 joules. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Okay, and then what about 4A? Did you get 60 watts?
yeah,
And your efficiency, is it 75%?
yeah.
Okay, good, excellent.
啦哦。
Okay, then this is basically going to be the final thing that we're going to talk about today, guys. We are basically going to learn the difference between renewable and non-renewable energy. And as the word suggests, renewable energy is basically things that will never ever run away. Like we can never finish using it, they are renewable. Examples of renewable energy, of course, includes solar, tidal waves, and even wind. These are the energies that we can never finish consuming them. unlike the non-renewable resources, right? Fossil fuel, nuclear fuels, coal, oil, natural gases, all these things we will eventually finish it because the production is less than the consumption, guys. We're using more fossil fuel than it has time to be generated again. And for those, in case you do not know how fossil fuel is generated, it's basically from the dead dinosaurs and the dead plants from millions and millions of years ago that went through a lot of compression and temperature and metamorphosis. Then they change into fossil fuel, right? They basically retain their energy and store as a form of fuel, guys. Okay. Now, in terms of your energy, you have to know one thing is that all energy actually derives energy from the sun. Okay, only 3 forms of energy do not derive energy from the sun, and they are geothermal, nuclear, and tidal waves. What is geothermal energy? Geothermal energy, like the name suggests, guys, pay attention to this. Geo means to say the earth, right? Thermal means to say heat, right? Where do you think the earth's heat come from? Where do you think the earth's heat come from? Yes, it's from the core, right? It's from the core of the earth, right? You know, I mean, you learn this definitely in year 9 as well, right? The Earth's core is a hot lava that constantly spinning and generates the gravity, right? This is what they call by geothermal. Examples of geothermal energy is basically like, if you've ever been to a natural hot spring before, you know how natural hot springs are formed, right? They must have a vent in the ground, right? And then they must have like some form of cracks that leads to the Earth's core. So what happens is the Earth's core here will actually seep out like some form of heat energy that is eventually going to heat up this water source here because of like there's like a not a dam, what's it called, like a spot to accumulate water. I don't know what's like a pool, right? A natural pool or a natural river here, right? The cracks from the ground are actually sipping out energy from the Earth's core, and that's why you have all these natural saunas here. If you've ever been to Taiwan, they are quite famous for the natural saunas. No, sorry, what's it called? Natural. It's not called sauna. What's this called again? Yeah, 温泉叫什么了英文? Oh my god. Teresa, do you know what I'm talking about? What's this called? Natural hot springs, they call it. I think they call it natural hot springs. Yeah, the natural hot springs are basically, it's not a natural sauna, it's a natural hot spring, right? So these are the reasons why, and you never need to heat it up manually or man-made because the heat from Earth's core is constantly sipping out, and then it kind of heats up the natural hot springs here. Okay, then second one is basically nuclear. Nuclear is from 2 main sources only, uranium and plutonium. Oh, actually I have it here, I think. Okay. Oh, it's here. Uranium and plutonium. So obviously this does not derive energy from the sun. And the final one is basically going to be tidal waves. Do you know where tidal waves derive energy from? Take a wild guess. It is the reason why there is high tides and low tides in the nighttime and in the daytime. The hint here is the nighttime and the daytime. Do you know how tidal energy is generated? Good. I will show you a very interesting video of tidal energy. Hey, where's that video that I always play? So, 没有人。喂，我有一个 video 时常我拍给我 student 看的嘞，喂，I don't。Here, my favorite. Let me share my sound. Pay attention to this.
It's some time. Hi guys. Can you guess the title of my next video? Huh? Hurry up! Write your guess in the comment
This is not the
section
important
below.
one.
What causes tides? Tides are the periodic rise and fall of sea level at a particular place. When the sea level rises to its greatest height, it is known as a high tide. And when the sea level drops to its lowest height, it is known as a low tide. Tides are primarily caused due to the gravitational force of the moon. But how? Part of the Earth facing the moon experiences a stronger gravitational pull towards the moon as compared to the Earth's center. So, the part facing the moon is pulled away from the center, creating a bulge and thus increasing the sea level and causing a high tide. Now, the Earth's center experiences a stronger gravitational force towards the moon than the part facing away from the moon. Hence, this part is pulled away from the center, resulting in high tide on the opposite side as well. In addition to this, the places in between the two high tides, where the sea level drops, experience low tides. Why do
Wait, that's all. Okay, so basically you guys have to remember this thing, guys. These three forms of energy do not derive energy from the sun because geothermal, like I mentioned, derives energy from the Earth's core. Nuclear energy derives energy from uranium and also plutonium. And tidal energy derives energy from the moon's gravity, guys. Moon's gravity. Okay, you might want to write this down. In your exam, they always like to ask you this question, by the way. I've seen this at least 9 out of 10 past year questions, when especially in your ABC, they'll ask you which one of these energies do not derive energy from the sun. Then they'll give you a lot of all these energy, everything here except one, which is either one of these three here. So this one is very important. You must know how to answer this one. Always comes up in the exam. Okay. So second statement here, it says that nuclear energy releases from the sun is due to the nuclear fusion taking place in the sun, guys. For those who do not know what nuclear fusion is basically a process that allows the sun to continuously burn for millions, if not billions of years, guys. Nuclear fusion is basically a process that allows the sun to continuously burn for millions of years, millions and billions of years. Okay, and you're going to learn this later on in the nuclear chapter, but for now, all you need to know is that nuclear fusion is basically two nuclei fusing together, right, to form one relatively larger nuclei, okay, one relatively larger atom. Two small atoms fusing together to form one larger atom, okay, one larger atom. Okay. Okay. Right. Then from here, energy may be obtained in many forms. For example, chemical energy stored in fuel or battery, water, including energy stored in waves, tides, and in water behind electric lamps. Geothermal resources such as the heat from the Earth's core, nuclear fission. Nuclear fission is the one that is responsible for all the nuclear power plants. Do not confuse it with these two things. They are not the same. In fact, they are the exact opposite. Just now I said that nuclear fusion is the fusion of two smaller nuclei to form one larger nuclei, right? Nuclear fission is one large nuclei splitting into two smaller nuclei or atoms. Okay, but you'll learn this process later on in year 11. So for now, all you need to know that fusion is fusing together. Fission is the separation. Okay. That obviously heat and light from the sun, so form of energy, and wind. Wind is also due to the sun now, because you all know how wind is generated, right? Do you guys know how wind is generated? If you want to imagine how wind is generated, let's just imagine today, like this is like a tar road, and then like let's imagine this is the sea. Okay, let's imagine this is the sea. Okay, this is the sea. Okay. So what happens here is, right, as the sun beams down, as the sun beams down hot air to the road here, what happens is this actually heats up the air molecules at the bottom here. Okay. And when these air molecules are heated, you know, heat always rises upwards, right? If you've ever been onto a highway on a sunny day, you always see like there's like steam, like streamlines on the ground. Have you ever noticed this before? You try to notice next time you look, if you look far enough into the highway, right, you'll notice that there are steam lines coming out from the ground. They are not actually steam lines, they're actually air molecules being heated up and they're actually rising towards the top. And when these hot air molecules rise towards the top, it actually causes the relatively colder air molecules to replace them. And this circulation of hot and cold air actually gives rise to the wind, by the way. Right, so this is how wind is generated, and thus wind is actually from the sun also. Very important. Okay. And then, so from here, like I said, there are many forms of energy here. There are renewable and non-renewable. The most common renewable resources are basically wind, waves, tides, hydroelectric, biofuel. Biofuel, which is literally like anything biological then die and becomes a fuel. Sometimes they say the cow shit also can become some form of biofuel because there's some form of energy inside. Geothermal and also solar here, right? The key characteristics of renewable energy is that obviously they will never ever run out. They do much less damage to the environment, right? Because they don't produce carbon dioxide, but they do not provide much energy, okay? And can be unreliable if you depend on the weather. Let's imagine today, right now, we know for a fact that solar energy is very clean, right? Everyone also knows solar energy is very clean. How come the world is not fully using solar energy yet? Because if today, right, we change everything into a solar farm here, right, what happens is when got sun, then got energy. If today raining season, right, everyone no energy, so they can be unreliable and they're dependent on the weather, right? And we don't have the technology to store enough energy yet, right? Right now, our capability of storing energy is somewhere like batteries only, right? We can store energies in battery. But in a large scale, that wouldn't work. It's not good enough. We don't have the technology yet. But Elon Musk is doing something about it already. He's trying to produce the most efficient battery that can store a lot of energy and then release it in the future. Okay. Now, obviously, non-renewable energy resources include fossil fuel and nuclear fuel. This one for sure you'll finish using on. They will eventually run out one day. They do a lot of damage to the environment, right? Because there's constantly carbon dioxide production, right? And they currently provide for most of our energy. Because they are reliable, we can continuously burn fossil fuel for 24/7. It means to say we'll continuously have electricity for 24/7. Okay. Now, if you scroll to this next page here, guys, I've actually taken the time to table all the advantage and disadvantages of every energy resources here. I highly recommend that you at least read through this table here that I've taken the time to construct, because in your exam, sometimes they will straight away ask you, what is the advantage of this? What's the disadvantage of this? It's not rocket science, but it's good to read and then you have the idea in your head. The next time, at least they ask you have something to write, right? Can you guys like take 2 minutes to read through everything from this table here? Then we'll do the exercises together.
不是 bedrock。
Bedrocks 就是 the rocks in the ground 这样子啊。The bedrocks 是那些 okay, so I think I show you the picture. So like 我们的地上啊是 layer and layer and layer and layer 嘛。There is one layer known as the bedrock, which is very, very thick and very, very hard to drill through. And yeah, this is what we call the bedrock. So this part is very easy to drill through an organic layer, topsoil, subsoil, parent material, all is very easy to drill through. And but if you want to drill all the way to the Earth's core, you have to go through this bedrock, which is very, very hard and very, very dense. So usually they will cost a lot to drill through that. Right. Okay. Okay, guys. Once you have read through everything, please try to attempt these questions here, guys. You have how much? You have 8 minutes to attempt this first question. We'll discuss the answers exactly. Search your notes. Holiday moon is very old. 我讲过只有测了，不要写 more than 3 significant figure。你这样子你会错的，你知道吗？你让我只有测啊，这个是几多个 significant figure？每一天讲，每一天都不记得。啊？
你还是错啊，这难，但奇怪的字。
No. Write with a pencil next time.
哦，不了，
你甚至没有 brain juice 是吗？今天必须要啊，
睡觉了，很累啊。
睡觉也行，偶尔睡觉。
我在那里结婚，我在打给我念。
Very good.
浪费啊！
Okay. Teresa, you done? With the first question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's go through this question together real quick. Okay, so what information do you have? You obviously have the mass here, and you have the vertical height here, and you're asked to find GPE. GPE's formula is supposed to be mgh, right? Which you are going to write 36 multiplied by 9.8 multiplied by 2.4. 9.8 multiply by 24, right? Then from here, you press everything in the calculator, you will get you get 846.72. But I've said this 1,000 times. I guess your only way you will learn is when you lose your marks in the real exam. You're supposed to get 847 joules because your answer cannot be more than 3 significant figures in the dotted line here. It's a standard. Okay. And from here, you ask to find power. Power's formula is once again energy over time. In this case here, it's obviously going to be GPE over time, right? So you write 846.72. Now, guys, I've mentioned this before, but when you have carry forward calculation, do not use the rounded up number. Do not use this. You're actually supposed to use the raw number here that carries it forward. Divide by the time of 4.4, then you're gonna get 192.44. But if you write it in 3 significant figures, it'll be 192 watts onto the dotted line here. Yes. Then after that, the next question here, it says that electrical power supplied to the motor is much greater than the answer in B. Explain how the principle of conservation of energy applies to this formula. So they're basically asking you lah, how come I only need 192 watts to raise this 36 kg, but I supply more? Maybe I supply up to 300 watts. Then how come only 192 watts? What happened to the rest of the energy? What could possibly happen to the rest of the energy? This is a very standard question with a very standard answer, guys. I want you to know that when you see these kind of questions, right, you must state that the energy is always lost to the surrounding. It's a very, very standard answer, guys. In your calculations here, we always assume that 100% of the energy is converted, right? But in reality, most of the time, you'll have to supply more than the needed energy because you expect that the energy will be lost to the surrounding. So that's why you see this mark scheme here, right? They'll say that evidence that the candidate understands the principle of conservation of energy. In this case here, you're supposed to say that the total energy input, right, is slightly more because some energy is lost to the surrounding and some energy is used to convert it into potential energy to lift the whatever package upwards lah. Right? If I were to structure it in a more standard way, it would be like converted
Yeah,
from one form to another.
one form or one form.
From one form to another. Okay. And the final question here, they say that assume that the power available to raise the package is constant. So whatever power that you use is constant. A package of greater mass than 36 kg is used to raise through the same height. So obviously when you have a greater mass, you'll need greater gravitational potential energy lah. And if you think about it, right, power equals to energy over time, right? If my power is constant and I need a greater amount of energy, what happens to the time? Less time. It's more time, bro. Bro, think about this mathematically. 100 equals to 100 over 1, right? If I have more energy in this scenario here, wouldn't it be like 200 over 2? In other words, if I increase my energy here, my time needed to raise it should be increased also to retain the same power, right? So you're actually supposed to say, they ask you to suggest and explain the effect of this increase in the mass of the conveyor belt. What's going to happen? Obviously, you say that with a greater mass, you will require greater gravitational potential energy, right? If the power is the same, you'll need a longer time to lift the same amount of height, right? Which you can see from this mark scheme here. Obviously, there is an increase in gravitational potential energy, right? Then obviously you're going to say that since power equals energy over time, an increase in energy with the same power, you have to have the same time here. So these are the few keywords. You can structure it however way you want. It doesn't really matter, right? But if I were to write it down, I'll say something like okay. Do the next question. How much time do you need here? 8 minutes, 8 minutes, starting from now. Maximum distance 来喽，你要找 maximum distance，你要用什么样的 formula？你要找 distance。什么鬼？你真是 no brain power 今天。 不是开玩笑哎。你想，现在我有 kinetic energy 了 ，I'm asked to find the maximum distance. In other words，啊
in other words
，in other words 是什么？
energy
什么 energy？
is
What energy will this kinetic energy convert into to get maximum distance?
Oh shit. Throw it. I see. 我电话怎么说？
你死人头啊！throw
throw it.
你死人头啊！Converted into gravitational potential energy 啊，所以来。 Then how are you going to convert it? How are you going to find the maximum distance, which is your maximum height?
我是好像
識講啊，頂你個肺啊！真是沒有人頭腦哎，哦，今天
真好，我累啊！
你每一个禮拜頭我講的累。
真的累，我还在 holiday mood 嘞。对呀，我一点吧，我去9点半1:361:37，1:8，
明明
1:84，1:8，1:8。老板不收。
，Why？
To travel upwards towards at least 1 because
準出啊！我講嘅 max 唔好啊！俾啊你，俾啊你，哎呀，你話你 max 收俾啊！我應該而家都跟你講啦，你最多是 OK 罢了，很好生氣，6是 OK 罢了，OK 罢了。你说什么啊？
我睡觉，
睡你死人头啊！每天晚上睡觉。
我很累啊。
I don't miss those.
因为它的 max change 了，
Mass change 你死人头啊！你跳高一点，你 mass 会 change 的吗？
因为这个 gravitational field change 了。
头啊！you think your rocket is it the gravitational field will change?
They will change because the height is change.
It's change your head. I just told you. This is a very standard question with a very standard answer. What happened to the energy?
The energy is change.
It's changed to what?
It's the high energy.
It's lost to the surrounding. So bro, this is a very standard question, bro. I told you already. You use this to convert into this, right? Assuming it's 100% conversion rate, right? But in reality, it will never be 100% because there's air resistance. 对呀。
你讲啦，我是哇，因为 energy change right，然后
Because energy is lost to the surrounding. It's
你在哪
converted.
里啊？你说了刚刚
啊？
在哪里？
哪个什么？
那个 energy 的怎么办啊？我们那个，然后你个胸，哦呀，这样很痛哎。What's the energy difference with money?
Mm-hmm.
我分享我读书学，
嗯
对啊，很感动。
嗯，
你怎么理解？
Okay, Teresa, are you done with the last question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Say the form of energy stored due to the stretching of the surface of the trampoline. Guys, anything that stretches or compressed, there's only one form of energy, and it's obviously supposed to be elastic energy.
last day are so shit oh,
不要骂我啊。Elastic energy, right? What did you write? Kinetic. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. By the way, pro tip, usually they will not give you the answer here if this was the answer. It will not be that way. Right?
Oh, elastic motion.
Elastic energy, or even the other one, what energy was it? Something that stores. What was the other word? I can't remember suddenly. What's it called? Can't remember. Shit, brain jam. Okay, whatever, it's not important. The other word. Right, anyways, from here they ask you to calculate the kinetic energy. You already have the velocity and you must be given the mass, right? What's the mass of this guy? This is your mass, right? So obviously from here it's half mv squared, right? In this case here will be half multiplied by 64 multiplied by 6 squared. Press this in your calculator and you get 1152. You'll get 1152 joules, but you cannot write that on the dotted line. You can only run 1150 joules. 又是写四个，我很累了，你去扣分啊，你去上学扣分啊你。
总可以的啦。
你说可以是？我跟你讲是不可以。Okay, anyways, from here you're asked to calculate the maximum possible distance here. Maximum possible distance can only be calculated if you assume that the kinetic energy is converted into potential energy, right? Gravitational potential energy lah. Right, so from here, essentially 1152 is equal to mgh, right? In this case here, obviously you have the mass already, right? 1152 equals to 64 multiplied by 9.8 multiplied by a h. So we press this calculator, 1152 divided by 64 divided by 9.8. You'll get exactly 1.84 meters, right? 1.84 meters. Yes. Yes. Okay, if you want to write 1.8, it's actually acceptable also because the minimum is 2 significant figures. Then finally, this question here, she travels upwards through a slightly smaller distance. We calculated that she's supposed to jump 1.84, right? Maybe she can only jump 1.79 meters only, right? So there's slight difference, smaller distance. And I ask you to calculate it, the one calculated in 2. Then I ask you to suggest why this is so. And I've mentioned this, I'll say this again. This is actually a very standard question in your energy chapter. You must know that the energy is always lost to the surrounding. Energy is lost to the surrounding as heat or sound. Standard answer with a standard question with a standard answer, guys. Very, very important. You must know. Okay. Okay, I'll do this one, finish this one, then I'll let you guys go. You have, this one is easy lah, literally just use the formula only, and everything we talked about already. You have 6 minutes, then I have to go to my next class already. 题目来源會識做冇啊？
这个，
這個先好。
应该是错。错。
啊，這對吧？
哦，是的呢。
嗯，這個對。maximum possible speed 是這個還要乘這個還要乘一個 x 啊？什麼鬼哦？什麼 formula 來的這個什麼 mass velocity，然後這個height，什麼鬼哦？你 apply formula 做的嘛 ？is half mv square 啊，阿姐。這個東西 it equals to 這個東西。除是450千，然後還要 square 那整個東西。
不要急，不要急，不要急。1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8。
然後，
那个想呢，就是这个。
我都不知道你在用什麼。你可以 refer to 你的 notes 嘛？你在做那個 calculation 的時候。又是這個問題啊。What's the answer this time?
The energy is lost, the mass is lost, the velocity is lost.
The mass is lost 啊。
对。
你試試看寫，你要打你沒有
？Your energy is lost to the surrounding.
as
heat or sound. 哦。这一样。
一樣啦。Teresa, are you done with these few questions?
Doing the last one.
Okay. Okay, guys, let's finish up the discussion for the last one here. Okay. State the form of energy the train gains as it begins to move. Keyword here, move, right? Then obviously it must be kinetic energy, right? Because it's moving, ma. Then here they ask you to find the work done. Work done's formula is supposed to be force times distance, right? So how much is the force? This is obviously the force. This is not the distance because distance is always measured in meters, which is supposed to be 4,000 meters here. So it's supposed to be 360,000 multiplied by 4,000 right? Meters. Then from here, pressing the calculator, you'll get a damn big number, which is 1.44 times 10 to the power of 9 joules. And write this down on the dotted line. Okay. Then after that, it says that the mass of the train is 450,000. They ask you to calculate the maximum possible speed. So in this scenario here, they are basically stating that the work done is converted into kinetic energy, right? So from here, it's going to be work done. Is equals to half mv square lah, right? In this case here, will be 1.44 times 10 to the power of 9 is equals to half m v squared, right? So if you do your algebra correctly, you should end up with a speed of 80 meters per second. Teresa, do you get this answer?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Very good. And finally, one last question here, which is essentially the very standard question I've mentioned. In practice, the speed of the train is much less than the value calculated here. For sure, it won't be at 81, maybe it will only be at 75 meters per second. So just one reason why, simply because the standard answer, once again, some energy is lost to the surrounding as heat and sound. Okay, this is literally a very standard question with a very, very standard answer. Okay, everyone. I'm gonna send you guys a link for you guys to do as homework. Please complete that. That's on your own free will, and we'll continue doing the rest of this next week, guys. We'll continue doing the rest of this next week. Once we're done with this, we'll move on to the pressure chapter, which is your final chapter for your general physics. Then we'll do discussion and revision for the whole general physics. And I'm going to give you guys a test after that, guys. There will be an in-house test. So please study for everything. This test, I'll be feedbacking to your parents on your progress and everything. So please don't fail my test, and then I have to, tattletale on your hands. Okay, guys, I have a next class to go to already. I'll see you all next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Welcome. Bye-bye.